Drum roll! Congratulations! Welcome to another month in the year 2023. Welcome to the third month of 2023. Welcome to the month of March. Wow. Welcome here. You've made it until this time. Thank God for that. It's something to be very grateful to God for. February has passed and now it's March. We thank God for everything. We bless the Lord for everything. Congratulations for making it. We thank God for keeping you. We thank God for keeping me. We thank God for keeping each and every one of us. Welcome. Hello and welcome to another episode on Rosecast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for clicking that link to listen to this topic. If you've not subscribed to Rosecast, I'll ask please do subscribe. Do click that button to subscribe. Do click that button to be part. Your subscription will go a long way to helping this channel and this podcast platform rather grow. Today's topic, as you've already seen, is don't talk too much. And by the topic already, you clearly know what I'm going to be talking about. But yes, still thank you for wanting to listen because there are things to talk about. This topic has been on my radar for quite some months and I had to push it until now. And I'm trusting God to help me share what is needed to be shared. And I hope that at the end of it, you'll be blessed and I'll be blessed. So with that being said, let's ride into today's topic. Too much of everything is bad. So also is talking. You need to talk so that your mouth does not smell. And also talking is a way you communicate with people. When you don't talk, you can't communicate well with them. Now, except for someone that has a speech impairment where they have to use sign language or where their words don't come out appropriately, everyone who has no problem with their speech should talk. When you don't talk for a long time, your mouth will smell. However, too much of talking is a problem because it signifies an amount of self-control. Now, people who talk too much, we call them talkative. Some people have this part of their temperament or their personality to talk a little bit more than others. And they say that according to research, that women say much more words than men. But everyone cannot be the same. And there are those who say more than other people. However, when it becomes excessive, it becomes troublesome. So, talking excessively is a problem and is not something to be admired. Neither is it something that is pleasant, especially to the listener. There's a lot of flaw that comes with talking a lot. And talking a lot, it signifies a weakness to the ability to listen. However, I'll go into that more into today's podcast. Talking is necessary to communicate. However, it does not signify a good communicator. But in order for you to even start communicating properly, you need to know how to talk. And if you can't talk, like I said, you have a speech impairment, at least you need to know how to communicate. That's by using a sign language. But when you comes talking a lot, it can become a problem. Now, talking is not the only way to communicate. Like I said, there are different other ways to communicate. However, if you do not have a problem with your speech, the best way to communicate with people is to talk, is to speak to them. And then we can go further to say being able to speak in a way that people can understand you, being able to speak in a way that is comprehensible, that is easy to understand, or being able to pass information that the other party knows what you're talking about. And when it comes to a point where you are using excess words and speaking too much, it can become a problem. Now, this is the reason why talking too much is a listening problem. It's a listening problem because When you talk too much, it means you are only interested in hearing what you have to say. Whereas it's important to also hear what people have to say, because when you speak and when other people speak, there is communication, and this shows that the communication is appropriate. When only one person keeps speaking and never hears what other people want to say, it means they are not even interested in communicating well. So communication happens between two people, and that is by two people giving their own sides. Now, like I said earlier, there are people that have personality of speaking a lot. It's part of their personality. It's and we call such people extroverts. They are more exuberant in sharing. But even such people can be good communicators. It just means that they will talk a little bit much more than other people, or talk much more frequent than other people. The opposite will be introverts. Introverts may speak but may not speak a lot, or would not express themselves as much as extroverts do. But I do believe that both can communicate in a way that people can understand, and in a way that is appropriate. Now, being an introvert doesn't mean that you are a best communicator just because you don't speak more. And being an extrovert doesn't mean you are a bad communicator just because you speak more. It's just being able to speak and also listen, and being able to express appropriately, and being able to have the other person comprehend what you are saying. These are the components of being able to communicate well. Talking too much is a self-control problem, because you need to know when to speak, how to speak, and how long you should speak. But when you're not able to have that correlation, it means that there is a problem with your ability to control yourself. Talking too much shows also that you are someone that does not know the right time to stop. So too much of everything is bad. And when you are communicating with people, you should be able to look at people to see if they are actually going in the flow with you. Now, sometimes we talk too much, or when a person talks too much, it may also reflect that they have some issues. And that those issues may stem from not really having a place to express themselves. So therefore, they do it in excess. So whenever there's an excess problem in anything, check there's an underlying problem. It's pointing back to something. It means that the person wants to express themselves because they believe that if they express themselves a lot by talking a lot, they will be able to be understood. It could also stem from the problem that a person just feels they always have something to say. And I have learned that sometimes you don't always have to have something to say. Sometimes you shouldn't always have something to say. Sometimes it's okay to have nothing to say. There is nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it's okay to have nothing to say. There is nothing wrong with that. It is fine. But then when you realize you feel compelled to always have something to say, there's an underlying issue, either with the person or with yourself. That ability to just know when to stop is a great quality. The ability to know when to let be is a great quality. And the ability to have self-control, even when in your speech, shows an amount of comprehension about yourself, about your situation, and about the person that you are trying to communicate with, or the people that you are trying to communicate with. So even in speaking, it's important to know that if you don't speak sometimes, that could be the best form of communication at that time. So I don't always have to talk. And I want to bring down to say that just because you don't talk too much does not mean that you always have to also still speak. I have come to realize that there are a lot of situations where it would have been better if I kept quiet without saying anything. I would have had better results if I had not spoken. And then few of the times that I've tried to apply this, I realized I actually have better results in such situations. And as a believer, as a Christian, I have to put that the Holy Spirit has been a great help in this. Sometimes it'll be like, just keep quiet. And when I obey, I realize I even get a better result than that. So talking too much can also mean that, doesn't mean you talked, but it can also come to the point that sometimes you don't need to say more than what you said. This can also be said as over-explaining. Sometimes when you have to repeat yourself excessively over what you've already said before, sometimes it's okay to say nothing. Don't talk too much. Don't share too much of yourself with everyone. And even with people that you believe are your people, sometimes learn to keep some things private. Don't wash your dirty linen in public, or don't wash yourself down excessively. Keep a sense of privacy to yourself. In this current time of social media, and most of us wanted to share a lot about ourselves and give a lot of ourselves to the world, and even I myself that has a podcast that shares with you, and I say I like to be very vulnerable. It's a thing of caution, or a thing of always coming down to say, okay, I think I don't have to always share this. I think I don't have to share this personal part of my life. We don't always have to share everything about ourselves. We should keep a sense of privacy. Why? This is important for the sake of self-respect. There are things we share excessively in the process of talking too much, and we lose even the personal respect that we have from people. That ability to keep some things private helps also keep some sense of respect from other people. Now, I'm not saying that when there is danger, where there's a lot of trouble, where you need people to actually come in to help you, that you should keep quiet. Now, sometimes keeping quiet excessively, because I said excessive everything is bad, can also cause you cause you damage, or you won't get the help that you need. However, there's always a balance between all this. Don't share excessively. Don't share every single thing. Don't share every single good or bad news to people or to the whole world. There is always a balance to it, because in excess sometimes there could be more harm than good. Now in Proverbs chapter 10 verse 19, it says, in the multitude of words there wanted not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. I use the King James version. It's saying that when you talk too much, it is hard not to do the wrong thing. Either you're going to exaggerate things, or you're going to tell a lie. So in excessive speaking, it's hard not to now lie, or not. It's hard not to commit a sin. That's what this passage is saying. And if you look at it practically, sometimes when we excessively talk, when we excessively overshare, in order to make our speech sound more acceptable, for people to enjoy or want to hear more, we may end up having to lie or formulate a thing. So therefore, it's saying here that, and he that refraineth his lips, and he that keeps his speech is wise. So in excessive speaking, you may end up saying the wrong thing, or making a promise you would not keep, or just concocting a story that's not true. Then in Proverbs 13:3, it says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. He that openeth his lips shall have destruction. And this is coming down to oversharing. When you overshare, you make yourself excessively vulnerable, and sometimes you never know the heart content of who you are sharing with. Now, when we are sensitive to the Holy Spirit, He can help us to know the kind of people to share with, because there are some things that are so private and personal that not everybody deserves to know so much about those things. Even when we need advice, we need to depend on the Holy Spirit to lead us to the right people, so that as we are sharing this aspect of our lives, it does not become a pointer where they can use it against us, or where they will give us an advice that will ruin us. This just to chip in to say the best person to ever overshare with is the Holy Spirit, because even if you don't share with Him, He knows everything about you. And He will do this through prayer. It's only God that you overshare, because He knows everything. So whatever you're sharing with Him, He already knows. So it's a he that openeth wide his mouth is to destruction. Sometimes we overshare our plans, our purpose. Overshare our purpose and plans, when we overshare the dreams that God has given us without even starting them. And because of that, the person you are sharing with may still or may try to interfere with what God has said you to do. It reminds me of when people like Ezekiel, Jeremiah, even John had some visions, and Daniel, and the angel that will be with them will be like, keep quiet, this is not the right time to share it. So even for the dreams and plans that God has given to us, sometimes and most times, those things have to be kept private until an appropriate time before they can be shared. Sometimes you need to learn how to keep what you are working on private before you can share it. And I do believe this comes with experience, with life, and with the help of the Holy Spirit. I being a good example. Sometimes when you keep things too private, like I said, you may not get the help you need. So we need to depend on the Holy Spirit's help to know who to share with that can help us, that can be an assistance. However, in the course of even doing that, we still need to be wise to know how to share. Essence of everything except the goodness of the Lord always has an effect that is not usually good. I hope you got the last statement, but you can get it, I do believe. James chapter 3 is a very good place to go to when we talk about knowing how to mind our speech, knowing how to talk. James 3 saying that everything in this world that was made can be tamed, but the tongue. And I do believe that one of the ways that God works on us first is on how we speak, on how we communicate, because the way you speak also reflects a lot about your relationship with the Lord. Colossians chapter 4:6 says, "Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer everyone." This is a very key verse to me when I want to talk or when I'm thinking of speaking with anyone. I always just ask myself, what I'm saying, is it going to be beneficial to this person? Is this something that is with grace? I'm not saying I get this all the time. I don't always get it all the time. But this is something that's always in my heart whenever I'm trying to speak with people. How seasoned is my speech? The Bible here is saying that let your speech be seasoned with salt. And we know what salt does. Salt preserves. Salt preserves what it is in. And salt is the means of preservation. And salt has taste. So that means let your speech be tasteful and let it be a preserving speech. And I do believe this does not happen automatically. It happens as we get more aware or concerned about how we speak. And I do believe one of the ways to know a man that God has really worked on is by knowing a man that God has worked on how he speaks. Now, for those that love to talk, I do believe it's going to be a bit harder than those who are more reserved. I already said earlier, just because you don't talk too much doesn't mean you're a good communicator. Because a person may talk a little bit more doesn't mean they're a bad communicator. But already the baseline here is don't talk too much. Now, James Street was making a lot of emphasis on knowing how let your speech, be so, your tongue be so bridled. Let your tongue be so bridled. Let it be controlled. And like I said, the baseline of being able to talk too much or talking too much, the baseline shows an ability to control yourself, an ability to exercise self-control, ability to know when to stop and when to continue. So even in your speaking, let it preserve the person that is listening. Let it build the person that is listening. Let it be a beauty. Let it build the person that is listening to you. That is what seasoning your speech to be. And like I said, this does not happen automatically. It is intentional and it is by practice. I do believe. Another thing about talking too much is you don't know your direction. You don't know where you are going to. So I do believe that when we are communicating with people, we should have an idea of what we are trying to communicate. Are you trying to say? Go to the point. If it's a cordial or warm conversation, there should still be a way around that conversation in a way that your conversation still have a direction. So one of the flaws of talking too much shows that the person does not have a sense of coordination. They do not really know what they want to pass across. And this beats stories upon stories. And like we said earlier, because of speaking, they may want to, concoct a story or tell a lie or exaggerate because they don't have a sense of direction of what they are trying to say. So I do believe that when we are communicating with people, we should have an idea or a direction. We should have a destination. We should have just a purpose behind our speaking. So having a purpose behind speaking also encourages us to speak in an appropriate manner. Helps us also know how to speak within an appropriate time and not excessively speaking. So once there's a proper idea or purpose behind speaking, it also helps the speaking to be more effective. When there is just here and there, the person you're speaking to may not even be able to grasp all you have spoken, and may even miss the major content of what you are trying to say. But like I said, this is still by practice. Like, what am I trying to say? Do I want this person to understand? What is the end of my speech? What am I hoping to achieve at the end of my speech? Now, I'm not saying that every single speech will go like this, but I do believe that even for light-hearted speeches, this also guide us in how we want to speak. Oh, should I share this? Will this add to the conversation? Will this help with the conversation? Also going to conflict. Also going to working on projects. Would this help in what is going on? If at the end of thinking it is not going to, I speak. If it's not going to add to the conversation, neither is it going to encourage conversation, then why speak? Why do I have to say it? I don't have to. And then with that, it will help with what is being said in the conversation in a way that many of what is said in the conversation would not be useless and unnecessary. Talking too much expresses a lot of necessity, and our time is precious, our life is precious, life is fickle. So even in our speech, we should consider, is this even helping my life go anywhere? Is this helping my life go anywhere? Is this helping this person's life go anywhere? If that is not the case, then I think it's better to keep it inside and not say it to the person, and minimize the amount of words instead. Let the multitude of the words be something that builds more than what wastes time. Now, as a Christian, as someone who loves the Holy Spirit, I know that even in my speech, I need to consistently trust the Lord to guide me in what I have to say. I know it's not everything that is in my mind that I have to say. There is wisdom in keeping a lot of things back and just knowing that there are things that I shouldn't say, even when I feel I want to say them. And also, it also takes a level of maturity for me to weigh the room, know the people I'm talking to, know the situation on ground, and being able to weigh my statement to know if it's going to be relevant or important. And sometimes, even when I feel that, I have to say this, knowing if that time I want to say it is the right time to say it, and then trusting on the Holy Spirit to lead me to know how to say things well. It's a journey. I'm still learning. I believe we are all learning. But if you notice that you talk too much and you stress people too much, and they've ever complained to you or ever shown signs they don't like, I think it's something to work on. Nobody wants to be with people that they don't enjoy. So, and talking too much also causes you to be a person that people may not enjoy. And also, if you're not a good communicator, it can become difficult communicating with you. I've had situations where, I've had incidences where people would express their frustration or unhappiness that I wasn't able to communicate well. And sometimes I may be defensive, but I then go back to review the conversation and know where I can do better. And I would say I trust that God is helping me to just be humble, to reflect back and know where I can do better when it comes to communicating with people. The aim is that the person that is being spoken to understands and can communicate back in a way that reflects they have understood what is being said. So if my speech cannot build them, cannot encourage a better conversation, then I need to work on what I'm trying to say. That being said, that brings us to the end of today's episode on Roscast. This topic cannot be overemphasized, but I do believe that what has been said would bless you. I mean, it cannot be overstretched. There's more to this, but I do believe you could get that from other places, and it may still be shared on Roscast in another format. Most of you, my listeners, are not subscribers, Please do subscribe either on Spotify or on Anchor. Your subscription will go a long way in helping this platform. Always said, please don't hesitate to send your feedback or your comments. To also go a very long way, and I'm waiting on them. To share this with others as well. That would be well appreciated. With that being said, until next time on Rosecast, stay safe and God bless. Bye bye.